Hey everyone, welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me is my buddy John Taylor. What's going on, pal?
Hey, not a whole lot. I said it last time, but always better when there's a Packers win. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing episode 3 right after the win over the Colts, Packers 16, Colts 10. And John, you didn't get the score perfectly right, but you were definitely closer than I was. I said that I needed to see proof, right? If you missed this, by the way, it's probably in the video right under the one you're viewing right now. So go back and watch that. It's near the end where we predicted the scores. And I said I needed to see something from this team without Love, right? Because in the game against the Eagles, I didn't see Jacobs. I didn't see enough from the offensive line. This is not going to be what we all need it to be. Wrong. You were right, John.
This is me not gloating. I did say on the episode last week, episode 2, that Jacobs really turned it on in the second half. I mean, he really did find it. And, this game, man, he picked up right where he left off. I do recall in episode 2, I said they needed to feed him a steady diet. Last week, the Colts gave up 131 yards to Mixon, and they gave up
like 164 in the first
exactly.
half.
Yep, in the first half. They gave up more to Jacobs in the first half than they did to Mixon the entire game. So really, really great. I mean, when you talk about the play calling, I mean, what a beautiful game.
There. Start with LaFleur.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start with those eyebrows. When your coach is that beautiful, the game plan needs to be. You know what I'm saying? And he called a dynamic runs. I think they were hesitant to dial up a lot of deep shots, even though it was clear as day with that shot from to Dontavian Wicks, man. Malik Willis can spin it. He has a howitzer attached to his shoulder. So,
and I was kind of waiting for that. So I'm watching the game and I'm like, look, I'm obviously not coaching a football team. I've never schemed a game, right? But I was like, the Colts have to know, right? We have a backup quarterback in. We're going to run the ball. You're not good at stopping the run. We're going to run as much as we can. Did not matter.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you give Matt LaFleur credit. They had a ton of downhill run plays, but the horizontal run plays, the motions, the shifts, all of the motioning read back into the backfield, just keeping them second guessing, really, really exciting and interesting play calls. They got 261 yards on the ground on 53 attempts. It's the most attempts by a Packers team since the 70s. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, the only blemish on a darn near flawless game from Josh Jacobs was that fumble right at the goal line,
which was brutal.
It's brutal.
I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
it was not like a great defensive play either. No, it was like, come on, Jacobs, you got to be better. You got to be better right there.
Yeah,
it seemed like he was like, I'm in.
Yeah, no. And that's 2 fumbles over 2 games. So, I don't know if he's got jitters or anxiety playing for a new team. There's a lot more pressure on him to be a workhorse, especially going into a game like this. But I mean, he's pretty loose. I mean,
also, the fundamentals you're an NFL running back, though. I'm sorry. I mean, it's really hard for me to just give the anxiety. This is your job. This is what you do.
True. Yeah,
you're playing for a team that sucks or a good team. This is your job.
He's got to hold it tighter, and they're gonna ridicule him endlessly for holding the ball that lax, not while you're crossing the goal line. I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to make that mistake again, at least anytime soon. But you got to think about it. The reason why they brought Josh Jacobs in is what's the first thing they said? Workhorse. He can handle, the second most snaps by any running back in the league behind Derrick Henry over the last 5 years. So, you're talking about 32 carries for 151 yards. I mean, how many games does it take Aaron Jones? How many games would it have taken to get Aaron Jones up to 32 carries? Two games? 3 games?
Well, let's be honest. We would have never have seen Aaron Jones get the ball 32 times.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How many games would it have taken for that to be?
Because they've never planned for that. Yeah.
That's why you have to be excited about a guy like Josh Jacobs. And he did not lose. He was running mean all the way till the end of the game, and to bring up your point about the second half, the Colts were just full-blown selling out to stop the run. They were begging the Packers to do anything else, and to be honest, the Packers didn't need to, especially with the way the defensive playing, which I know we'll talk about, but I mean, the defense put the offense in a beautiful spot, generating turnovers. The first series for the Colts was a 3-and-out. I mean, they made Anthony Richardson have to throw the ball, and boy, he's as inconsistent as everyone claims he is. He is going to be great in this league, but he's definitely not there yet. So
No.
When you talk about early crowning, that's one of them. But, I think in general, the offense, we're talking 10 of 17 on third down. I mean, the stat that I looked at immediately was time of possession. The Packers held the ball for 40 minutes and 11 seconds.
That's usually a good thing. You have the ball that long.
I mean,
it's usually a good thing. Usually leads to victories.
Yes. You don't need to be a PFF subscriber to know that when you have the time of possession in your favor, that usually results in a win. So yeah, it's great.
I do want to talk about Malik though. I want to get to Malik because I was super impressed. Right. Obviously, a lot of the national pundits, a lot of the predictors were saying, everyone took the Colts. No one was giving the Packers a chance. Heck, I didn't give the Packers a chance. And Malik came out and he had some great plays. It was definitely, everyone, not that I was doing this, but a lot of people that were judging him solely based on what the 2 snaps he had at the end of that game against the Eagles, if that, or maybe it was just the one, and going, oh boy, brother, are we in trouble? No, I mean, look, I saw there was one play where he scrambled and he ran, and I was like, damn, that was impressive. I don't know that I've seen like Love do that. Like that was nice to see. And then once he was allowed to throw it, and they were like, no, this is a third and long situation. He did, it was awesome to see Malik step up, because we talked about if Love's going to be out 3 to 6 weeks, what do? They need to win. What did we say? They have to win half the games he's out.
Yeah. Well, so let me stop you there real quick, because there was a lot of people thinking that there was a chance Love could return this week, which definitely we all agreed was probably not going to happen. The questionable was a Fugaze. It shouldn't happen. Yeah, exactly. Ian Rapsheet did come out this morning and say that it's looking like a week 4 return. So we can definitely get rid of the 5 and 6. I think that is probably on the later end. Yep. You cannot list a player questionable for multiple weeks if he has no shot of playing. It's the same conversation they're having with CMC in the 49ers. Like, the injury report is not where you're supposed to wage mind games on your opponents. So I think we can definitely safely say he's probably going to be back around the week 4 mark. And so now, instead of talking about, which goes from talking about how do we go 3-3 to can we go 2-1? I mean, we'll talk about it, once we finish recapping this game, and probably into, the end of the week episode here. We'll preview the Titans, but I mean, the only team that looks scary right now is the Vikings, which, is our NFC North leaders at this point. So
yeah. And not to get on that, but because we will talk about that, but man, do they look good today against the Niners? I was like, who is this team?
Well, Kevin O'Connell made the Pastronaut look good on 3 hours of game prep. Like, Sam Darnold got drafted by the Jets, and you see what the Jets do. It's just not surprising. I
was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised coming into the season. I didn't hear anyone saying look out for the Vikings.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be. It was the Packers are back on top, but Detroit is still Detroit. It was nothing about the Vikings, and then they came out, and I know they didn't have CMC and everything else, and the Niners are going through their stuff, but still, I was impressed. Now, in that game, Jefferson also went down. I don't know if there's an injury update on him, and I'm assuming he'll be back by the time that the Packers play the Vikings, but I don't know that for sure. Anyway, back to the game. They're talking about Packers Colts. So was really impressed with Willis, after the game too, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself. I mean, realizing his role, realizing what he was doing, what he was supposed to do, and the fact that he did it. I really didn't have anything to complain about with Malik's play today. I was super satisfied with, which for me, who's constantly fighting off people who are trying to tell me how to fan. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm really good with what Malik did.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the game plan, and it was run. And there was few opportunities to push the ball downfield, and he did. And he You know, his scrambling is great. He took care of the run designs. I mean, a perfect example of what you hope to see moving forward is how we finish the second quarter. We didn't even attempt to drive. My guess is they had 1 2-minute drill installed and they were not interested in blowing it to try to grow the lead. And then you look at the confidence, and as much as we can all say how great Malik did, there's a reason why they didn't even pretend to drive the ball downfield, because saving the double up was better than even trying to get more points. So
trust me, this might have been just a great example of smoke and mirrors and just moving things around to make it seem like we would be just fine with Malik. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what happened. So if that's why we give all the credit to LaFleur, because this was, at least in my mind, this could have been a disaster, right? You lost your highest paid quarterback. You bring in this guy, and you have him do exactly what you needed him to do. He didn't go out there and flash. They didn't beat the Colts, 38-10.
Yeah.
Right. They got the win. They got what they needed to get the win and get the hell out of there. So
it was fantastic. I mean, moving forward, we'll talk about it some more and what can be done, but it's just, you can't expect to run 50 plays against the Titans. They have a way better defensive front. They're not a sieve like the Colts are. I mean, truly, like Malik Willis coming in, like I said, coming in against a common opponent. He's prepped for them multiple times. They were begging to get ran all over, and they did. So they're going to have to figure out a way to get Malik to throw the ball downfield
a little more week. They have
100%. I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm just talking about. Yeah. I'm just saying what's awesome is this run game translates to next week, to when Love is back. I mean, there is no reason not to be running 11 personnel, one wide receiver, one tight end, 11. So that means, or one running back. So it puts Jaden Reed on the field. There's no reason not to be doing jet sweeps, motion, Packers tosses with him. And let's just get the opposing team in nickel, and then let Josh Jacobs run over guys who are too small for him, So I think it translates. I think Malik is a great system quarterback for that. So, I mean, hats off to everybody. There was really only one clear way to win this game, and everybody did their part and they made it happen. And like I said, Malik was getting top 10 draft buzz, and I don't think he was ever worth it because he went to Liberty and that's where he looked good. But he's a mobile quarterback who ran the read option, and we saw a lot of the strengths that he had as a college player and the things the Titans refused to give him to succeed today, and he was able to do it masterfully. So enough can't be said about Malik Willis. I think like he came in and he said, he said all the right things, but when it comes down to playing, it's not surprising that the moment can be too big for a lot of guys like that. And to have him just stay there, patient, play, take what was given, play to what was the expectation of the game plan, man, I'm so happy for him, honestly, because these are the types of games that, he's never going to be a starter in Green Bay. If it's like,
that's what I'm saying. He recognized that.
Yeah. And if he does well enough, and if he plays well enough, he might be able to go to a different team and actually compete, So hats off to him. I mean, hats off to the entire running back core. I mean, hats off to the wide receiver room. You want to talk about
all the hats off.
The hats are off. I'm not taking mine. I got too much stuff on my head, but I mean, there's that classic adage, right? No rock, if no block, you don't get the ball as a wide receiver if you're not willing to do the dirty stuff. Well, how about all block, no rock? I mean, Christian Watson was nowhere. Romeo Dobbs maybe had a couple throws. Dontavian Wicks, maybe a few. Reed's, all of his were manufactured touches in the backfield. I mean, and these guys were fighting for their teammates. And you love to see it. It's so easy to just go, well, let's lose all these games and see what happens when Love comes back, the guy who's supposed to carry us. And what you saw this game against the Colts was a team that said, we came out flat against the Eagles. That's not who we are. And we can give some hurt as much as we take it, and I think we saw it today, and it's awesome because
I don't think that anyone gave more today than Josh Myers, though. Specifically on a third down when he just straight up puked all over the ball before he snapped.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching that, and I felt like Al Michaels when I heard that story. I was like, he did what?
So on one specific play, we find out post game that Myers threw up on the ball and then snapped it.
Yeah.
And that was why Malik didn't throw it. He just scrambled with it, and then they ended up punting. It's because there was literal puke on the ball. Now,
yeah,
this
Matt
brings
LaFleur
up,
on his presser said, yeah, Malik came to the sideline and he said, why didn't you throw it? And he said, Josh threw up on the ball.
like,
And he was like,
what do you want me to do?
he was like, fair enough. I guess I've never heard that excuse before. And
Yeah,
then
what did you
apparently
say?
a line judge came over and said, yeah, hey, we saw that before snap and we didn't know if we should blow the whistle. And he's like, yeah, next time blow the whistle if my guy's puking on the ball. And so yeah, it was weird.
I don't feel like you can stop that. If you're the refs, you can't stop that.
I think you can.
No,
I think you're actually,
because then someone ends up like just being able to puke on command. Like, no,
hey, I mean, listen,
it's part of the game.
I don't think that someone's going to exploit that, but I'm pretty sure it's like a medical issue. If somebody's vomiting, there's like dehydration concerns. But also think about it this way: it's like an equipment issue. There's vomit on the ball. It's like that's not in the rules. It's like a player should. Hey, okay.
Is there lightning? Is there lightning?
This is like
we don't stop play.
That's how it works. There's
in the NFL,
nothing.
John.
There's nothing in the rule.
Is there lightning?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Play continues.
There's nothing in the rule book. Yeah.
Look, I need to figure out, and I understand the dehydration of this, but we've seen multiple pitchers puke on the mound, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this just was like out of nowhere, right? It's just like, and puke. And not just like a ton of puke, just like blah, puke.
It's just like 100 degrees on the field puke. I mean, it was hot down there for sure. The broadcast didn't do their usual like, boy, it's a scorcher, and they didn't like cut to all the hydration tents. But I mean, 100, you're not going to Lambeau in the middle of September thinking it's going to be a 100-degree football game. I'm sure of that, and I'm sure Josh was not expecting that either. So I'm glad he's okay. It's like, I mean, anytime a player's puking, normally I'm like, oh, are they concussed? But good for him. He just had an upset.
A little bit of puke.
He just had an upset tummy. Yeah, I feel bad for him.
I'm sorry, it's just nuts to me. I can't get over it.
I know.
I can't get over it when athletes just randomly puke doing athletic stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you're running for a long, like I could puke if I had to run a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So but I'm also not like an athlete, and it's not like they just got done running. It's like pitchers.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Where'd that come up?
Well,
Josh Myers. All right. Hut.
Josh Myers is probably our lowest graded lineman. So my guess is,
true. Another good.
How much can you affix the athlete label to Josh Myers right now, the way he's playing? So anyways, it's just another fun. It's a lot more fun.
He had a rough day
after a win, because I tell you, if he lost and we're talking about him throwing up, man,
we would not be talking about it.
It is a very different conversation
if they lose that game.
Yeah.
No, but that was fun, and I just loved that they could talk about that and joke about that because they came away with a win.
Totally.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover about this game before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to touch on the defense a little bit here. I mean, talk about a team that the side of the ball that put us in the game. We're talking about a defense that's already has 5 interceptions this season. How does that sound? They only had 7 last year. When you talk about playing a press man style of defense, you put yourself in opportunities to take over football games and create turnovers. And man, I mean, how about Eric Wilson? Did you see that stat line? The stat line, he played 8 snaps.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't even have everything he did, but he forced a fumble, got the interception, 2 massive rallies to tackles, 1 pass breakup. I mean, you want to talk about peak efficiency. I mean, go get yourself a game, Eric Wilson. That was great, and I like to see it, because he got awarded a contract really fast this offseason, and it's off his special teams play. And to have him come in and make big plays in those opportunities, I mean, it's awesome. It's just really great to see. It's awesome. So
it's nice to have a defense that you can rely on. Yeah. For a long time, we've been worrying. The defense has been a worry or a disappointment, right? Yeah. A lot of hype, and it not turning out that way. And I mean, obviously, this was. I don't want to do too much glowing reviews of this game because of what it was, especially on the defensive side of the ball, right? Jordan Love never played defense. So the defense was the same in this game as it was against the Eagles. The only difference was their opponent wasn't as good.
Right.
And so they were supposed to have a better game today, right? Yeah. There weren't going to be any complaints about the turf or the field being different or the opponents being better. So the fact that they did better to me is like good. That's what was supposed to happen.
Exactly. But I just think like it's nice to highlight the changes in the scheme and what that generates, and to have it bear fruit so quickly is worth applauding, I think. When you talk about you move to a Hafley's man aggressive scheme, it's to try to generate turnovers. You sign Xavier McKinney, one of the best safeties in the league, to a really expensive contract, and it's already paying dividends. He rallies to tackles. He's got 2 interceptions on the season already. In terms of orchestrating the back end of the defensive scheme, really kind of being a great mentor for Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, all these guys. I mean, there's a reason why players of this caliber don't become free agents at the age of 24, and it's usually because of organizational stupidity. So I just want to say thank you, New York Giants. Thank you to that GM who let him walk. I mean, also go to hell for letting Barkley go to the Eagles, but it is what it is. But I hear your point. I mean, there's a lot more we want to see for sure. On paper, we're still not seeing a ton. I've been hearing a lot of chatter.
They had a bad game. There's no way you can say they had a bad game.
No,
I'm just saying, to me, they played how I expected them to play against this team. That's my expectation for them. They did not exceed my expectations. They met my expectations.
Yeah. And I think in week 2, that's a great spot to be for being a newly installed defense. The second time we see it, I mean, the Colts didn't convert a third down until 2 minutes and 17 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I mean, they got first downs, but I mean, we got them off the field in third down situations. Yes, they had 338 total yards, but 101 of that came on the final 2 drives of the game when they were playing way softer and shell and getting into that prevent, because the Colts put themselves in a hole where they had no option. I mean, Steichen kicked a field goal, I think, just because he didn't want to look at the goose egg anymore, but that was terrible play calling. You have to try to score the ball there if you want to win that game. So I think they did enough. I've been hearing a lot of people already saying, like, why do we pay Rashawn Gary if he's going to be a ghost on the stat line? Where's LVN? Where's Enigbari? Like, where's Preston Smith doing with all this? And all I'm going to say to everybody is, defensive ends first and foremost primary role in a defense is to set the edge, especially against running quarterbacks. Their job is to penetrate to the backfield and then park it to keep him in the pocket. And so these first 2 games were never going to be games where Gary was just going to be.
No.
Yeah. And what's funny is I called 2 sacks, and then I started watching this game and I watched how they were playing, and I was immediately like, there's no way he's going to get a sack today. And that's fine, because it disrupted
no way,
his ability.
Though? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have gone into it saying there's no way. And that's my, like I said, they did what I expected. Everyone, every position group on defense did exactly what I expected them to do.
Yeah. The only guy who definitely needs flowers is Devontae Wyatt. You want to talk about a guy who we all just assume is going to be good because of his tool set or skill set or his tools. And I constantly think
drivers, all of it. Yeah.
I constantly think, I keep saying he's going to be good, but when is that going to happen? Or like, it's just been this foregone conclusion that he's going to figure it out. But you talk about a guy who had a sack today, 2 tackles for losses, another QB hit. That pressure, that QB hit forced the AR-15 interception. I mean, this is what you talk about. He needs to solidify himself as the number 2 guy interior behind Kenny Clark. And he's been that guy because of who he is in his draft, his pedigree and all that. But to see it show up on the stat line was great. And, we need our D tackles in this style of defense to penetrate. We need them to play a modern style of D tackle. And, I just hope that as Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary can start attacking quarterbacks more when they're not as scared of them scrambling the way that these guys can, that we see just the entire defensive front line eat. But really impressed with the game. I said it in episode 2, like the Colts are just a worse version of the Eagles. So it is exactly what you wanted to see this week. And I just wish we would have saw a little more of this last week, because I think obviously, the result could have been different. It was, we were in a position to maybe win that game. So, revisionist history either way, but it is what it is.
There were still some penalties, some dumb penalties.
Yeah.
But way better command and control out on the field than there was in game 1. And so just like a lot of people will have said, even though don't tell me how to fan, calm down.
Yeah.
It was week 1. Give this team a little time, and they'll work those kinks out. And
Yeah.
this was good. This was a good timing for the Packers with
Yeah.
everything that they're going through, with Love being out and trying to work out those kinks. The Colts came to Lambeau at a great time for this team. This was the perfect opponent for them to have this week, and they did, and that was great.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question before we switch gears too hard here. What's the number one thing you want to see next week off of what, not looking into what does a Titans Packers game look like, but just seeing what you saw against the Colts? What's the one thing you want to see? Just gut check time.
I want to be able to see them trust Malik a little bit more with a passing game. I think that you're not going to be able to rely as heavily on the running game. And even though you're going to scheme it all these different ways, how are we running it? It's going to become so much easier to replicate things that happened today if there's any threat at all of Malik throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now it was everyone knew coming in that the ball was going to be ran, and that's exactly what they did. And you're just not going to get as lucky going forward over the next few games without Love if Malik can't throw the ball. There were still, glimpses in this game of when, it was stopped, when the run didn't work, right? They did get caught, and it was like, well, now it's third down. He's got to throw it. And it was a short pass, got nothing. And you're like, they didn't plan for that.
Totally. I think he showed enough to MLF to say,
I
hey,
hope so.
we gotta at least, because they know that. I think they do. I think 53 attempts again is impossible against most teams in the NFL. If we could get up to 35, 40, that means the rushing game is working. And that means immediately 10 to 15 more plays, where hopefully they can get him pushing the ball downfield. So I'm pretty excited about it. You didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyways what I want to see. I'm just kidding.
I knew it was coming.
For me, I just think I don't love that we're still losing snaps for Javon Bullard to see Evan Williams. I know people are really excited about Evan Williams, and he had a really great training camp. His preseason was exciting. But Javon Bullard is going to be the safety next to Xavier McKinney in nickel packages in base defense. And I think the more we as Packer fans can get our heads around that, the better. I think I said this before. I think what we really need to start thinking about is, what does getting Keyshawn Nixon out of the slot look like? Because he's not been great. I mean, it hasn't been terrible, but you're just talking about, Evan Williams and Javon Bullard on the field might be your most talented 11. So, I might say, I'm starting to think we should be playing a bigger nickel. They call that big nickel, is when you have your safety in the slot as opposed to a cornerback. And so I don't know if it's going to happen sometime soon, but I just think if Evan Williams is going to be a guy who can positively impact this defense more than Keyshawn, then it's just like, it is what it is. And so that's just something I want to see more of. Or I don't
know that you're going to see that until there are more glaring reasons to see that. When the defense is doing what they're supposed to do in general, I don't know that LaFleur is going to go and make bigger changes to personnel. I think it's going to be, it's which honestly, as much as I understand where you're coming from, if that means the only reason that happens is because something's faulting with the defense, then I don't want you to see it.
Well, I guess my big point is
not what I want.
I guess my big point is I don't want to keep seeing Javon Bullard taken out of the game in favor of Evan Williams. Heffley came out in his press conference, said we need to figure out ways to get Evan Williams on the field. But if the only creative way is to just not play Javon Bullard, I think in a year or two, that's not doing us any favors.
Right.
But anyways, so that's a big thing. I'm keeping my eye on. That's something I'm going to keep monitoring, especially because I haven't been in love with Keyshawn Nixon's play in the slot. And you drafted a guy like Javon Bullard who played nickel cornerback at Georgia. The dude is a thumper. So, they did draft him knowing that he could probably take over that full-time position because the dude's athleticism is off the charts. So
I give you my opinion on it. Do you think it happens in the next game or two?
I don't. But I'm hoping they start experimenting more. I guess that's my point. I don't think they're going to bench Nixon outright, but I want there to be I wish there was more of like a philosophical change. Like, okay, if we're going to want to see Evan Williams playing next to Xavier McKinney in the deep safety position, then we should be putting Javon in the slot. And that might mean less plays for Keyshawn, but it is what it is. Cause I just don't really get it. But that's what, so no, I don't know how fast it is. I just hope that they're putting their best 11 guys out on the field, I guess is my point. And it's still early in the season, but I do want to, I want to see Javon out there. I want to see Bullard out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
The dude's a stud. So
got it.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's kind of, I came into, before we started recording, I was really excited about talking about the Packers, but we kind of hit everything. The only other little point of note that I think is kind of interesting if we're talking about things to notice, Carrington Valentine came in for Eric Stokes in the second quarter and basically played the entire game until the last 2 drives. So they're doing some sort of platooning. I mean, he looked great out there.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say I didn't mind it.
I didn't either. So but it's the same thing. Like, platoons work to a point. At some point, maybe they're just still trying to figure out who's going to play where and how. And obviously the secondary is a big old question mark right now for all of that. So just something to keep on looking at too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they can figure it out while winning.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 16-10. Hell of a game. Narvison needs to learn how to hit a 45-yard field goal, but the dude's got a leg. I definitely have I got more confidence in him than I do in Carlson.
Yeah. Well, that's good because he's gone.
Yeah. Well, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
he got beat out by Joseph at another camp. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Him and Greg Joseph. I don't know who signed Joseph, but they were like, "Yep, Joseph and Carlson," and then they were like, and they signed Joseph. And
this guy's got like voodoo dolls of Joseph in his house. Just why would you leave me alone?
Yes, exactly.
You're ruining my life.
Exactly. Well, it's a pretty full episode, Josh. But do you want to touch on our Brewers or what?
Yeah, let's do a 2-minute quick hit on the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last episode saying that I believe the magic number was 8 at the time. We talked about how the division is all but secured. And now what's that magic number?
It's down to 3.
3.
It'd have been 2 if we didn't botch today's game. Because,
and a lot of people really upset with the fact that the Brewers lost in extras to the Diamondbacks this evening, 11-10. And I understand because of the standings, right? Of if they're going to sneak into that second place for get that second bye over the Dodgers. But I don't think that I never thought that they were really going to have a true shot at that, especially looking at what the Dodgers have left. They have, I think, 6 of their 9 games are against the Rockies, who have 55 wins on the year.
Yeah. I hear you. I mean, I know you said you don't want to see them get too hot, but I do want to see them win. And I just think games like today.
But that's how you get hot.
Well,
if you're winning a lot of games, you're hot. That's how that works. You can't, if you're finding ways to constantly win, then I'm going to define you as a hot team.
All right. I'm not too. Listen, you're right. Don't get hot. Just play baseball. And if you win, great, I guess is your thought. I'd like to see them.
That is my thought.
I'd like to see them continue at least the bare minimum of what I expect out of them, which is not hot.
This is crazy. It's crazy that I'm the one sitting here right now being calm about this Brewers team.
Yeah. No, I'm pissed. I'm not pissed. Listen,
you're upset though.
Since the last episode, it was a 6-game road stand. It was really hard. People were saying if we could get 1 game in the desert and then maybe win and break 500. If we could go 2-4, it wouldn't be ideal, but that's a good road trip. I mean, we went 4-2, so it was already a win. I was already happy. The problem that I have,
you sure sound like it, John.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
The problem
my wife
is shout out to Julie. Anyways, the problem that I have is when you're going into the 9th inning, 10-8 after clawing and fighting back and getting that far ahead. I know it's only 2 runs, but getting to 10 runs is a big deal. It speaks a lot to how the game is going. I just think Murph kind of screwed the pooch on that. You Koenig shut it down, and then you just bring him right back out there. You warm up Devin twice, and then in the post game go, yeah, we were like never going to bring him in except for a specific situation. So just have him sit. Just throw your guys and just punt on the game. That's fine. But like the up and down, the weirdness of it all, you're worried about Devin going 4 times in 6 games, but Trevor McGill did. So you were trying to win, but you were trying to save Devin. But you thought Jared Koenig could do it, but then he couldn't do it, and he showed it long before. So, anyways, they're still doing great. We're about to see what the Phillies do.
Yeah,
We'll see. I love the Brewers. I'm excited to watch them. Hot or
Me
not
too.
hot, they're a fun team to watch. And Jackson Trio continues to be a stud, and Willie Adames rules. So
we have time. We'll hit on the Brewers a little bit more. I think I'll be ready for them to get hot maybe after the next episode. I think then I'm looking at the timer and I'm like, we're almost there. We're
This
almost
is-
there
yeah.
where it's time to, put it in the oven, get it ready
Yeah.
to go. So,
yeah.
But big win for the Pack. That's
Hell
what
yeah.
matters most. And also everyone watching this matters most. Thanks to everyone who continues to watch and like and subscribe and comment. We see your comments. I know a few people have said, man, I really wish that you guys did this live so I could tell you how to fan. Don't tell me how to fan. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But we will respond to your comments, and we do appreciate everyone who watches and listens.
Yeah, don't tell us how to fan, but please comment how to fan. It does wonders for the algorithm. We really appreciate your support.
Yes, help us combat the algorithm. Absolutely. And make sure to tune in to our next episode, which will be posted at the end of the week, because we are not done yet.